All right, well, good morning. Let's give the band a hand today. Always appreciate them. And if you're watching online, give us a thumbs up. Let us know you're watching live. Quick question before we get started. How many of you said, hey, we're going to the 11 o'clock this morning through the cold? We're still you made plans last night to be here at 11, and you're here. Any show of hands? Some of you are like, what are you talking about? It's so weird. How many of you were just 30 minutes late for the 9:30 and the time change, and you just rolled in on time? Anybody? Yeah. Well, okay. I don't know whether haven't started yet. We're an hour behind, but no, just joking. Bad joke. Okay, that's all I got today. So, quick question: how many of you are really bad at losing things? Anybody? You lose stuff all the time. Never find your stuff. Never find your keys. Never find your purse. Never find your wallet. Never find your phone. Anybody? Okay, a lot of you. Give us hands or thumbs or holy hands or something online if you're the same. Yeah, so I misplace stuff a lot. I have a really good system that my wife, who's here, will tell you she loves, and that is I like to put my keys somewhere different every day. That way it's like a literally, I don't know, scavenger hunt for the whole family, and I'm losing my mind. So I do that, but here's the best part. So a week ago, on a Friday night, I get a call from my daughter, Tegan, who's also here, or text, and she's like, guys, can't find my keys, right? And so she's in the parking lot. Her friends have dropped her off. This is about 10:30, 10:50, 11 o'clock on a Friday night. She can't get home. So I hear my wife basically ask her, where all have you been? Not many places. The school parking lot, BW3s, Decatur, Las Vegas, San Diego. I was like, so I looked at John and I was like, just, she'll find a way home. She's fine. She's an adult. And I was like, let's let the car rest in the parking lot because we're never getting it back because we're never going to find her keys. And my wife, who is such a better parent than me, I continue to watch TV. She went on a scavenger hunt with her. End up going to BW3s. A waitress is there like, oh, I got them. They hug, embrace, made a Hallmark movie, and they were done. But we get home, and I told my wife, I was like, I know I kind of misplaced stuff, but we were just kind of laughing about how do you lose your keys? How can you be that bad? Well, fast forward to Tuesday morning. I'm walking into Planet Fitness. And as I'm walking in, I never take my phone. I don't. Because when it's time to do work, it's time to do work. Amen? Okay, whatever. But that was bad too. But anyways, I'm walking in, but I have my phone with me for some reason. And my wife calls. And it kind of freaks me out because I know she only calls me if if they died, they're dying, or they're in a wreck. I knew it's like something's up. She calls me, and she's out of breath. She's like, hey, I'm walking to school because I can't find my keys. I was like, really? Take two of this? We're doing this? Went home that night, still couldn't find them. Got into the next day, had to pay someone to come and unlock our car. We searched through the whole car, nothing there. So I was like, okay, we're going to let this vehicle rust in our parking lot, in our driveway, because we don't have keys anymore. What's going on in my family? Come to find out they're actually in my car in like the little side cubby hole. And Lord knows how no one knows how they got there, okay? I don't know. But the reason I tell you that, when you lose something, no one ever celebrates all the stuff you still have, right? When my daughter lost her keys, she wasn't like, but at least I know where my car is. I at least have my favorite pillow in my room, right? You don't do that. You're like, when you lose something, you become consumed by that thing. Well, today, as we hit week 4 of the code, I want to get into kind of a story that Jesus shared and why that's important. But just to give you a recap, so if this is your first week, if you're coming back, I'll go super fast. We talk about how our purpose is to help you find your purpose. I believe this wholeheartedly for every one of you here watching online. I do. If I don't believe anything else, I believe this. I believe you were created for a purpose and on purpose. I really do. 100%. God designed you before the beginning of time. He has a purpose for your life. John 10:10 says, Jesus says, I came to give you life, and real life, and an epic life, and an abundant life. True living. The enemy wants to steal, kill, destroy. I want to give you life. So that's awesome, and that's why we celebrate each week, because through Jesus, we can do it. We don't give you purpose. So we've been talking about the code. And the code's important to me because whether you know it or not, over the last 10 plus years, this is kind of how we operate. Like operating system, your iOS gets updated on your phone. This is our kind of C3OS, right? This is the things behind the scenes when we make decisions, we think through these. So just so you can kind of see real quick, this is week 1. We accept you wherever you are, but care too much to let you stay there. So if you ever walk up to me like, hey, did you know so-and-so shown up? And did you know their lifestyle? Did you know they used to? Did you know they still are? Do you still? I'm like, I don't care. I don't care. We accept you wherever you are. We care too much. All of us in here, right? We know. We accept you wherever you are, care too much, let you stay there, because we know Jesus wants more for us. Okay, that's it. Second part brings me into that, though. We say, hey, we want to be a great church for the tri-state, not in it. And there's a big difference there, and I'll tell you why that's important to me. Years back, I was in a meeting in this building when it was first built in the back room, and I told a group of people, I said, nothing would make me happier than one day when maybe this building burns down or shuts down or people scatter or I do something stupid and no one comes back, whatever, that if we quit, the community would be like, what are we going to do? We don't even agree with the church. We don't even like them. But we need C3. They help us in so many ways. They help us with food. They help people in need. They help this community. They're a bright spot to our community. We want to be for. Why? Because Jesus is for. Jesus is for this community, big time. So we want to do the same. And then the last one, real quick, and we talked about, we take God really serious. We do. But we don't take ourselves serious. So if I say something today and you're like, that's off color, and I don't know why you would ever say that, well, just understand that's our code, okay? I don't take myself serious. I know I'm not a big deal, and neither are you, right? That's why we take God serious. But the next three are going to deal with our identity. This is how I truly believe you were created. I believe this. So this isn't something you do. The next three are something I truly believe God from the beginning of time designed you, and when you learn to kind of live in your design, it helps things. So here's the code. We're family. Everyone is invited to the party. Now, when we get to this story, this is probably one of the most famous parables Jesus ever taught. The Good Samaritan and this one, to me, are probably the two biggest ones. But before we get there, let me give you a background of how this system worked in Jesus' time. So 2,000 years ago, in Jewish culture, they had levels of importance. They also had levels of how much God loved you. Okay? They probably didn't say this out loud, but they all believed it. So you had teachers of the law. They were the head honchos. So if you would talk to any Jewish boy, say you walk into Jerusalem Elementary, elementary school 122, it's like New York City, there's a bunch of them there. But you walk in and you find, little Johanna or whatever, and you're like, hey, tell me the system. They would tell you this. They're like, okay, you got teachers, okay, at top. You got teachers and leaders of the law. They're the man. They're top dogs. But under that, you have scribes and Pharisees. And God really likes them. They're not the leaders of the leaders, but they're still important. So yeah, God likes them, and we're kind of fans of that. And then right below that, you just had all Jewish boys and girls. And we're God's people. God loves us. He tells us all the time, He loves us. But then you had a dividing line. Then you had Samaritans who were half Gentile, which was non-Jew, and half Jew. And to them, it was kind of even a very racial thing. They're half-breeds. So they're kind of out, and we don't really kind of respect them and didn't really love them. They're below the line. So if you said, well, does God love a Samaritan? Probably not. But then below that, you had Gentiles, and that was an easy answer. Does God love the Gentiles? No. No, He loves the Jews. He loves us. He doesn't love anybody else. And then you got below that, had two more levels, and these when it got really bad. They had what they would just deem prostitutes, right? It's prostitutes. These women, they're trash. God does not love them. But below that, the lowest you could sink, worse than anything, was what they called tax collectors, because they were actually Jews who should be above the line, and now they're selling out their own people and cheating their people and robbing their people for the Roman government. We hate them the worst. So if you live in this culture, people would be like, well, at least I'm not a prostitute or a tax collector, right? You know, there's like Polak jokes when I was a kid. I don't know why everyone picks on Poland. But it would be like all these, like that would have been it. It would have been jokes on prostitutes and tax collectors. So that's the system. And Jesus sits down with a group of people, and He starts telling stories about things that are lost. And He says, hey, one time there's this shepherd. He had 100 sheep. He loved the sheep. He's a good shepherd. And one day he's out in the field with his workers, and one of the workers is like, hey, Tommy, I'm counting 99. How many sheep did you say we have? We have 100. Okay, let's count again. 98, 99. 98, 99. Like, we're losing one. And Jesus said, this shepherd's like, quit everything. We're going to find what's lost. So they went to find the one. And everybody's like, that's a terrible business practice. And He's like, I don't care. When something's lost, it matters. And He said, second story, there's a woman who had 10 coins. And it was kind of like equivalent to almost like a wedding ring now. And she lost one of the 10. And Jesus said she tore her house upside and down. She would not quit until she found the coin. It was that important to her because it was lost. Now, why is Jesus telling this. I'm going to give you the backdrop. In Luke 15, verse 1, it says, tax collectors and other notorious sinners. I love notorious sinners, don't you? Not just a sinner, like not just famous, infamous, right? Notorious sinners often came to listen to Jesus teach. Now, the Pharisees didn't like this. It's not the end of the world. But the second part's what really put them over edge. This made the Pharisees and teachers of religious law complain that he was associating with such sinful people, even eating with them. So this is why they could not wrap their mind around Jesus could be the Son of God. We don't get it in our modern time, but to them, this is huge. He loves teachers of the law, leaders. He loves scribes and Pharisees. He loves Jewish people. He doesn't love anyone below the line. And Jesus, you come on the scene, and all you do is eat with and drink and basically have a good time with prostitutes and tax collectors and notorious sinners. There's no way you can be holy and hang out with such scum. So that's why Jesus told the two stories. But then he's like, I don't think you guys are getting this. So I'm going to tell you the final story, okay? And this is where we're going to camp out today. Jesus is going to share with us what matters to God. Now, I was 12 years old, and I, through certain events and things happened, I started attending this little country church outside my house. Some of you heard this story. But I want to tell you the part that hit me. I'm 12 to 13. I start reading the Bible in my bedroom, read this stuff about Jesus, get to Matthew, get to the end. They kill him. I don't know what's going on. And he comes back to life. I love it. I get to Mark and read, and there's stuff he's doing. It seems like he's repeating himself a little bit, but he's doing it again. Then they kill him again, right? Bring him back to life. Awesome. Then I get to like Luke. They kill him again. I'm like, how come this guy's dying 4 times? I didn't realize all 4 people were telling the same story, right? But I remember reading this, and this hit me. No one ever told me this. This wasn't like someone said it. I read, and it hit me. No one in our church ever talked about, this country church I attended, people who were nothing like Jesus. I don't hear many people talk about that. People who were nothing like him actually liked him, but here's the real kicker. He liked them. And as a 12, 13-year-old kid who's a knucklehead with criminal, insane brothers, I promise you, I was thinking, is it possible? I know people tell me God loves me, but is it possible Jesus would actually like me right now? Not different, not doing something different, not cleaning myself up. Jesus would he like to hang out with me? That kind of blew my mind. Well, that's what we keep seeing in Jesus' life. So to illustrate it further, and this is how we get to we are family. Who's family? My brother and my sister and me, right? This is a dead crowd, okay? That wasn't a great joke. It was a 5 out of 10. No, okay. Here's the story. This gets so good, okay? I almost feel like I should just read it and not say another word. Let's close shop and go home. It's so good. To illustrate the point further, Jesus told them the third and final story. A man had 2 sons. Now, most of your Bibles, because we came in afterwards and start labeling stuff, we put the prodigal son or the wayward son or the son that left. But Jesus didn't say the story is one son. He said, okay, Dad, let me tell you guys about my dad. He has 2 sons. The younger son told his father, I want my share of your estate now before you die. So his father agreed. All the people in the crowd were like, what? So this boy came up to his dad and said, I can't wait for you to die. I don't want to wait another 20 years. You're kind of healthy. I want what's mine. Give it to me so I can leave. So they're all like, oh yeah, no dad would ever do that. That's terrible parenting. So the father agreed to divide his wealth between his sons. He did it. What? A few days later, this younger son packed all of his belongings and moved to a distant land. And there he wasted all his money in wild living. Now keep this verse up for a second. Let me tell you how I picture this. Okay, my mind probably works different because I'm a weirdo. This is what I picture. I was a junior in high school, just transferred to Ironton, and my friends were all just knuckleheads. One of my friends, his name was Lenny. We're sitting, it's after football season, we're sitting in class, in German class, and he said, hey, it's Friday. I'm throwing a party tonight at a hotel in Ashland, and I want you to come. I was like, oh, thanks for inviting me. I was like, no, you know I'm not really, I wasn't like a drinker, smoker. I wasn't. And a lot of you probably were, but it just wasn't my deal. So I was like, I'm not really that. He's like, still, you'll have a good time. Let's come. Just show up. So I show up. So I get in there, and it is, let me explain this party to you. If Snoop Dogg did a video, it was this party. I've never seen anything. I didn't know high school kids could pull this off. They had 3 different hotel rooms, like stacked together. They had doors in and out, smoke so thick you couldn't see anything, right? And the smoke smelled weird for some reason. I don't know. But anyways, so it's just happened. There's girls, I mean, it literally, gin and juice, straight there. Like, unbelievable. Never seen anything like this. I'm staying on bed. Long story short, it gets raided. Crazy. Like, just crazy event. But when I picture this guy, okay, that was Lenny's party. It was wild living. He's living it up. He's the man having a good time. And about that time, his money ran out. And a great famine swept over the land. Now, I'm not trying to be Johnny Christian here. But I want you to hear this because I believe it to be true. You can chase a lot of things in your life. And when you chase them, you will find fulfillment for a short time. Maybe even for a longer than short time. But you ultimately will not find fulfillment in any of these things. If you search anything, because God tells us, anything apart from Jesus will not give you life. It'll be a famine. You'll fall short. He's like, if you want real life, it has to come through Him. This isn't God being mean. God's just telling you, hey, this is how the world works, right? It's like gravity. You see, my kids can come to me and say, Dad, I just believe, and I've been training really hard, and that's why I'm going to jump off this bridge onto that concrete. And I'm like, that's good, but you're going to die, right? I'm not being a mean dad. I'm just telling you that's the way that works. God's like, you can do what you want, because I hear some people come to me, because I'm a grace guy. I am. Like, oh, you say you're just saying sin doesn't matter? I think we all know stuff messes up, right? I talk to people, some of you may be divorced in here. I'm not shaming you, not at all. But most people I talk to who are divorced, they're like, yeah, it complicates some things, right? It makes things hard. I know people, probably in this room, I know personal friends of mine who's cheated on their spouses. And when I talk to them, they're like, no, it's not good. It's made things really difficult. It's ruined some things. It's messed up relationships. No one's saying that. I just want you to know, God's saying your ultimate fulfillment won't come from this. Well, anyways, he began to starve. He persuaded a local farmer to hire him, and the man sent him into the fields to feed the pigs. Now, every religious Jew is loving this story. They're like, listen, normally we don't agree with Jesus because we just think he's telling nonsense, but we like this story, right? Let God give the boy what he wants, and now he's paying for it. This is what we love. And now he's feeding pigs, which the Jews hated. It says the young man became so hungry that even the feed he was feeding the pigs looked good to him, but no one gave him anything. When he finally came to his senses, he said to himself, at home, even the hired servants have food enough to spare. And here I am dying of hunger. I will go home to my father. He has a 3-point plan, okay? He has 3 things he wants to say to his father. Here's what he said. Father, number 1, I've sinned against you and heaven. Anyone have kids when they really feel bad and they apologize to you? What do? They make their apologies so big. I have ruined your mom's life. I love you guys so much. They're crying. You're like, you really don't care. We know you don't, right? But he's like, Father, I've sinned against not just you and this family, the whole world I've sinned against, right? So that was point 1. Look at part 2, what he says. He's like, I am no longer worthy to be called your son. And then he finally gets to part 3. Will you just make me a servant? I know I'm not your son. I know that. I know I ruined my shot. But would you at least let me be a servant because your servants live better than I am right now? That's what he asked for. Now I just want to say kind of 2 things about this. If you're a younger brother in here or a younger sister, here's the biggest fallacy that you think about God and how God feels about you. You don't think you're part of the family because of what you've done or what's been done to you. You don't. Because of what you did or mistakes you've made or choices you make, you don't think you deserve to be in the family. And Jesus in this story is trying to tell you, but you're wrong. Because it has nothing to do with what you've done. But that's how most younger brothers and younger sisters return. So he returned to his father, verse 20, and while he's still a long way off, his father saw him coming. Filled with love and compassion, he ran to his son. Everyone in the crowd would have gone, oh! Because Jewish men would never run. Never. And your house is on fire. They'd have a cigarette. They'd walk out. Right? That's how they were. They wore tunics and robes. It was a disgrace in this culture for a man ever to run. Think about this for a second. Even Jesus talking about God. God created the earth, which is a pretty big deal. He created the universe. And it said he literally took his time. Day 1, what are you going to do? I don't know, birds, whatever. Water, light. He gets to day 6 and he's like, we'll rest now. I'm going to take a break. He literally does 6 days, just takes his time. He's in no hurry. God's never rushed on anything. Even when people are freaking out in the Bible praying, they're like, God, he's like, I got this. And Jesus is like, you know the one time I see Dad kind of in a hurry. So when he sees one of his kids walking back, he ran to him, his son. He embraced him, he kissed him. His son said to him, here, I love it. Right here's the speech. Father, I've sinned. Part 1, I've sinned against you and heaven. I'm so sorry. 2, I'm no longer worthy to be called your son. And 3, and right when it gets to 3, it says, but, beautiful but in the Bible, right? Gorgeous but, great but to look at. Literally, but the father cuts him off. No, I don't need you to grovel. I don't need you to beg for forgiveness. I don't need you to be so sorry. He stops him. Look what he says. But his father said to the servants, quick, bring the finest robe in the house, put it on him, get a ring on his finger, set him on his feet. He's my son. And then he says, kill the calf we've been fattening for who knows how long. We must celebrate with a feast, for this son of mine was dead, and he's now returned to life. He was lost, now he's found. So the party began. Now, some of you have heard this story before, and you've lost all context of this. And I'm going to put it back in perspective. Even good parents don't throw parties for their kids when they screw up. You know, you got my son. It's like, you're throwing a party. What are you throwing a party for Tayden? It's not his birthday. He's not graduating. What did he do? Well, he got drunk, DUI. He hit a trailer again with his truck. And we just want to celebrate him, right? We're throwing a party. No, we don't do that. Well, you know, she's pregnant again. We don't celebrate mistakes because people need to be punished. They need to know. And here God does something just crazy. He's like, it's party time. And the kid's like, the last thing I deserve is a party thrown for me. He's like, no, you don't understand. I'm jacked up because you're home. That's older brothers or younger brothers. Now let's talk about the older brother real quick because they do the opposite. Older brothers and sisters think they deserve to be in the family because of what they've done. And they're wrong too. See, younger brothers and sisters think they don't deserve it because of what they've done. Older brothers and sisters think they do deserve to be in the family because we're all family because of what they've done, and they're wrong too. You see, younger brothers is what I call worm theology. Older brothers is what I would call work theology. And we're going to talk about that in just a second. But here's what it says in verse 25. Meanwhile, the older son's in the fields working. He's not with his dad either. When he returned home, he heard music and dancing in the house. He asked one of the servants, hey, what's going on? He is literally so busy working for his dad, he doesn't even know what his dad's doing. And he says this, your brother's back, he was told, and your father killed the fattened calf. We're celebrating because of his safe return. The older brother was angry and wouldn't go in. He was angry. Anyone ever met an angry Christian before? Anyone think it's pretty much most of them you know, right? Right? But let me tell you why Christians get angry. They get angry when they think someone else is getting something they think they deserve because they don't get grace either. Like, I don't know why God would do that for her. He's not doing it for me, and I deserve it. You see, that's how it works. This is the concept. So I want to share with you guys, if I get fired from here, which is very likely because I'm going to say or do something stupid, or I was planning one of our services on top of the roof with like oil, and we're all, I come up with some bad ideas. But let's say I lose my job here. What would I do? Some of you would be like, Trent, you could teach. You used to teach, right? I'm not doing that again. I'm not going back to those animals, right? I can't face them. Maybe public speaker somewhere, motivational speaker, maybe possibly. But I probably would like to do what I love to do the most, and that is draw. My drawings, okay? I want to show you my work today. This took me at least, I'm not bragging, 45 minutes, and I didn't even trace it. None of you care. You guys are the worst. At least at 9:30, there's a sweet old lady right here. Her name's Pam. She's like, I love the drawing. She's like my mom. She's like all about. I want you to see this picture. I want 3 pictures burned in your head today before we leave. This is the first one. I want you to see, in religion, this is how we work. We have worm theology. And worm theology does this. It's like, I know I don't deserve, I'm a filthy worm. I used to work with a pastor at a church. I won't say his name. One of the greatest guys I've ever known. But one of the things that always kind of come when you be talking to him, he's a great guy, great. He'd be, I'm just a big old fat sack of crap, but God loves me. And I was like, what? I mean, really, he was like so, he's like, I'm just a filthy dog, da, da, da. And this is the thing. This is the younger brother, like, oh, I don't deserve anything. God, no, oh, don't. And what happens is he thought it depended on him, and he messed up. Work theology, though, says it depends on me, and I'm going to get real worked up if you don't do what you're supposed to do. And neither one of these is grace. See, both of these is religion that's based on what I do and what you do. And Jesus is trying to say, you don't understand how my dad works. It's not about what you and I do. It's about what Jesus did. See, Jesus took care of it. We can't fix our problems. We can't pay for our problems. We can't be with the Holy God. And Jesus said, no, let me take care of that. You're not a worm. You know how much your dad loves you? He looks out the window every day looking for you. You know, some of you are like, I'm working so hard, I don't know why dad doesn't care about me. It's like, he does. He does. And I want to share with you, this is what matters most to the Father. What matters most? I have this phrase, I tell people at work here, so tired of me saying this, but I want to say it. Grace, not guilt. You see, God doesn't work in that economy. It's not a got to. Some of you are killing yourself, and here's what happens with the cycle. You do really well, and you feel good about yourself because you had a good week. You didn't cuss anybody out. You know, you didn't get drunk that week. You just make up whatever you want to do. I feel so good. And then what happens? Then you mess up. You're like, I feel so terrible. God has to be mad at me. I'm going to try to work harder. You see, you just keep living in this cycle, and it's a treadmill. It's just horrible. It's not how it's meant to be. And what we get to say is, I get to. I get to live the way God designed me. I don't have to. This guy even, you saw, did the Father's love change for him? If my kids come home to me and they're like, if my son's like, hey, I'm joining Hell's Angels. I've already got the tattoo, Dad. I got 3, teardrops on my eye because I killed 3 people. I don't love it. I'm not a fan. But you're like, I bet you don't even like your boy now. No. Nothing's changed. It'll never change. My daughter can come home to me and say anything she wants, anything. I don't care if it rocks me to my core. Someone could look at me and say, well, I bet you don't love her. I would fist fight you. Right? Because that's how we all feel. And he's like, you guys aren't even good parents. I'm a perfect father. This is the way I feel about. So what matters to the Father? Last part of this gets so good. His father came out and begged him. He begged the older son. Would you come in? Would you come in? Look what the son says. It says, but he replied, all these years I've slaved for you and never once refused to do a single thing. I'm doing everything you want me to do. It's religion. And all the time you never gave me one young goat or a feast with my friends. Yet this son of yours, not even my brother, comes back after squandering your money on prostitutes. By the way, Dad, remember prostitutes? They're on the low scale. That's who he's been spending his money on. Anyways, you celebrate by killing the fattened calf. Look what the dad says. Look, son, you have always stayed by me and everything I have is yours. We had to celebrate this day for your brother was dead. He doesn't say my son. He says your brother was dead and he's come back to life. He is lost, but now he's found. You want to know what matters to the Father? If you don't believe anything else about God, let me give you the greatest picture of God Jesus gave us. You've got a lot of younger brothers doing whatever they want and they're making a mess of their lives. And every day Jesus is like, I'm close to Dad. I'm really close to Dad. I spend a lot of time with him. Let me tell you how he thinks. He's looking out, waiting for them to come home every day. And a lot of you here, scribes, Pharisees, you think you're killing it? And you know what Dad wants for both of these? He ran to this boy and said, get in the house. We're going to celebrate. You know what he did to the religious? He ran and said, I want you to get in the house. It's not about that. It's about being with me. The dad wanted both of them. He left to go get both and bring them back in the house. The dad just wanted the boys with him. Now, I'm going to share this. I won't say names. I meet with a couple of different people throughout the week, some guys in the morning, different people, middle of the day, blah, blah, blah. So it's multiple people, so you can't play the guessing game and try to figure out who this is. But I'm meeting with, 2 weeks ago, meeting with a group of people, and 2 of them had to leave for work. It's like 7 o'clock. The other one stayed, and we just start talking. And he told me this story. I'm going to tell you word for word what he told. I'm going to share 2 pictures with you, and I promise, I want you to feel this. This is. If you don't get anything else, this is what you need to hear. He started talking about when he was, I think, 14 or 15, his mom died of cancer. And here's this phrase. He said, my dad's always been like the kind of the rock of our family, great shape, strong guy. And he said, when my mom died, I've never seen him like this. He's like, of course we all were devastated, all of us. It's the worst tragedy we could ever think of. But he said, I watched him, and literally he couldn't function. He couldn't talk to us. He couldn't do stuff he normally could do. He said his world was rattled. He said, I've seen him in some tough situations. I've seen him lose jobs. We'll be all right. He's that guy. He said, he lost it when my mom passed away. Never seen him act like that. He said until about a year ago when I had 2 siblings who were fighting and refused to talk to each other. And he said, I literally went to his house and I was like, I've never seen you act like that. Literally since mom passed away. It wrecked him. You see, I think what Jesus is trying to tell us is this. Like, you can be religious and you can be snobby and you can judge all the people because they don't do the stuff that you do. And the whole time, the dad's like, you don't get it. You don't get it. You don't get how much I care about both sides. But I also just want all of you in the house with me. Why? Because we are family. We are family. So here's what I'll say to you. If you come to my house, now looking at me, I go to the fridge a lot, right? Right? I eat a lot. I go to my fridge 30 times a day. There's something on our fridge I want to show you, though. This is what our fridge looks like. This is a little section of it. Okay? Picture me and John with our Mickey Mouse kids, and Tegan starting preschool at Sharon Baptist, and Tayden, I don't know what he's doing, why he's a flower, but he is. And you got Tegan. Tegan always had my daughter always had a lot of teeth problems. I don't know why. Her mouth is always infected and swollen. So every picture we have of her kid is like this, right? But I'm going to tell you guys something. And I'm not saying this like, oh, good dad, because every dad in here that's even a decent dad would do this. I can't tell you how many times I open the fridge, and when I'm excited, because I love to eat, but I grab the handle, and I look at these pictures, and I smile. I smile because they're my kids. So that story this guy told me meant so much because I was like, that would kill me more than anything, more than any choices they make. If my kids didn't like each other, but we're family. And if you go in my back room and I watch TV, if I'm not eating, I watch TV, that's our wall. So here's where my TV is, and I'm watching TV. That's on our wall. Our kids' senior pictures and a gorgeous pic. Can you believe those two are parents of teenagers? We look like we're babies, don't we? Whatever. And I do the same thing. Sometimes I was watching TV by myself, and I look over, and I just smile. And here's what Jesus is saying. He's like, I just want you, if you don't get anything else about my dad, and like I said, I'm with Dad a lot. This is how he feels about you. This is also how he feels about the people you don't like. And the greatest way you can get to the heart of my dad is when you love other people like family. When you treat other people like family. What do families do? I have two brothers. You fight a lot, right? You disagree. But at the end of the day, if you talk about my brothers or my kids, what's going to happen? I'm going to fist fight you. Right? And you guys are all the same because you're family. Doesn't mean you always get along, but you eat together. You spend time together because that's what family does. So as we close, I want you to hear this. You can disagree with it. But I'm going to challenge you, if you disagree with this, to go back to this story and read it about Luke 15 about 20 times and then come back and then we can debate this. God literally could not love you more. You, online. God could not love you more, and there's not one thing you can do to make him love you less. Do you know that? So if you're going to reject all the things of God, fine. But just understand what you're rejecting. You're rejecting someone who's literally looking out the window every day saying, I just want you in the house. When you're a complete jerk to that person who cut you off, when you're a jerk to that lady at work because no one can stand her, and we get it, just remember that God's like, but I don't think you get how I feel about them. God could not love you more, and there's not one thing you can do to make him love you less. Jesus is like, if you guys got the picture of how my dad works, I think we'd all act differently. Because we get to, not got to. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to pray. If you would for just a second, I want you to just close your eyes. Everybody here, just a moment. And here's what I want to ask you. Maybe watching online, maybe those of you in this room. A lot of you have been on the religious treadmill. Trent, if you knew all the things I've done, if you knew this past week how many times I messed up, and all I do is feel more guilty and terrible about myself, and I know God's disappointed, I know God's mad at me, I know, go down the line. You think about the younger brother. You got your speech ready, God, I'm so sorry, I'm not even worthy, just if I could just be a servant to you. And God's like, what are you talking about? You're my son, you're my daughter. Some of you get on the treadmill and you go full circle and you're like, okay, so I'm going to try harder, I'm going to do better, I'm going to do the best I can, I'm going to be really good, and then you're exhausted, and then you mess up, and you screw up, and then you get back to feeling like a worm, so then you work, and then worm, and work, and this is what we do. and you're exhausted. And Jesus is like, here's the reason why. You can't do it. Only I can. And that's the good news. That's the good news. So today, if you've been on the treadmill of religion, I'm going to not only challenge but plead with you to get off. Jump off. And realize He's done it for you. He loves you so much. I grew up in a family, we don't even say love you. I get creeped out by still saying it right now. But I think God wants us to hear today, I love you more than any of you could imagine. More than the greatest father you'd ever know. That's what He wants you to do. You don't have to work for it. There's nothing you can do that gets you outside of that realm. So if you've been on the treadmill, if you're exhausted, if you're depressed, if you find yourself just feeling like there's never enough, you can never do enough, I want you to realize the Father's asking you to head back to the house today. Because He just wants you in the house. If you're killing yourself with religious works so you can earn maybe God's favor, He's saying, you're killing yourself. Just come in the house. I want you with me. That's my prayer for you. My prayer is the day that we would walk out these doors and treat those around us, even the difficult ones, like we would brothers and sisters. And I pray as we close the day, you watching online, those of you right now hearing this, right here in this room, maybe today God's speaking to you, and today's the day that you turn around and start heading back to the house. Here's your prayer. Today's the day you're coming home to the Father. God, I know I've made a mess of things. I know I've squandered it. But God, I'm asking you today to forgive me. And in your own words or something like this, you can simply just say this with your faith and trust, because you realize today that He had a third son He took care of. So here's your prayer. Jesus, save me. Give me new life. That's your prayer today. No one's looking around. Before we close, I might you do something really bold. You don't have to stand up. You don't even have to get up. I'm not going to say your name. I'm not going to walk down to you. I'm not going to make a spectacle of it. But I want to celebrate today, just like the Father does. If you're walking home, here's what I'd love for you to do. Where you're at. Today's the day you literally say, Jesus, today's the day. Save me. Forgive me. My life is yours. Do something really bold. If you would, just hold your hand up. Just hold it up for me to say I see it. I'm just going to say I see that. Back down. Just hold your hand up. We just want to celebrate that. Hand up. Put it up for just a second. Back down. Awesome. Awesome. Jesus, so thankful for what you do. So thankful for how good you are. Thankful for the lives you continue to change. And above all, we thank you for grace. We realize we don't deserve it. We realize we can't work hard enough for it, but it's already been done for us. We get to live this amazing life you've designed us for, all through your Son. Thank you for that. That's great news. Best news I've heard all day. We ask this in your name, and amen. All right, guys. Hey, have a great week. We'll see you next week, all right?